Welcome to Trickle Down Geekonomics. Today we're going to do a solo playthrough of D6, Dungeons, Dudes, Dames, Danger, Dice, and Dragons. A Certifiable Studios board game, right from the book here. In D6, you're playing the role of players playing a role-playing game. The boat you needed, it's already in the harbor. That pit, it's already been dug. Every adventure will be different, but your objectives will remain the same. Kill monsters, collect the bounties, gain the glory. So that is the basic overview of the game right there. Although in the solo, the glory part of it's not going to be there. You're not going to be going after glory. You're just going to be collecting bounties and hides and that kind of thing. So we're going to, like I said, this is the awesome rule book. Really cool. We're going to do a solo playthrough. The solo co-op kind of are similar, but for the most part, solo does have some definitely some unique things about it that separate it out. So you have a lot of different games here. You have the versus mode, solo co-op mode, and then you also have a team alliance mode. So they give you a lot of modes, including a whole deck of alliance cards. That's a whole separate thing. So you have a lot of different ways to play this, and we'll go ahead and we will show you how setup works. We'll go ahead and we're going to start with our hero. We've picked the Mesmerist, and I have picked the particular Mesmerist I picked is, I'll show you here, they've got all the characters, which is fantastic, in the book with a little bio for each one, and it's really cool. So this is, see if you can see that. That's Sharps. And Sharps has a porcupine as his chib. And so don't worry, it's only the first 20 or 30 cuts that really sting. What's more horrifying than a warrior who's an expert with anything that has a point or an edge? What if said warrior also has a magical streak? His bewitched blades can strike fear in even the most vicious of monsters. Other hunters tend to give him a wide berth too. So that's who we're playing there. And so Sharps is our character. Sharps is a mesmerist. And the board pretty much is going to be similarly set up to Versus or any other version. The one thing is we're not going to be using our cash cube. So this will not be in the game. You're going to be using companions instead. So we'll remove that. We'll not be using that. You have your skill tokens here in the locked position. We've got our 2 potions on our gather board. Now the one thing that's different is the gather board. Oops. If you look right there, there's a red dot. And this board is specifically to be used for solo. So you need to pull that gather board out. And the reason being is the number 1 is the advantage card. And when you roll a 1 in this particular version, you actually get to unlock your companion. And there are 4 different companions. So I have the bird chosen. So the bird gives you, if he's with you in your location, he gives you a extra D4 when you attack. And then the kitten gives you a +1 to combat no matter where you're at. The little crustacean crabby guy, he gives you a +2, but when you're in a dungeon. And then the little wisp gives you, I think it's a woodland wisp is the name, but it gives you +2 in any other environment, except for the dungeon or like a blank, just an open space. So you can pick any of these at the beginning and you put them in the little companion carrier there. And so let's focus on our character real quick. We're going to go ahead and roll our stats. So we roll a 6-sided die, and a 3 or under, or if you get a 3 or under, it always becomes a 3. And then, but you get a gold coin for that, which is your bonus. But if you get a 1 or 2, it's going to be bumped up to a 3. So you can't have a stat lower than a 3 to start with. So we'll go ahead and roll that. And you got to place it somewhere as soon as you roll it. You can't wait. So I got a 1. So I get a gold coin. And that's going to be a 3. And we'll put that in intelligence. And again, intelligence is used with different events and things like that that come into play. And you do like a skill check. 6. Now here's the thing. Our skills, for her skill, she gets a +1 to her roll. So she's, that's her main area of strength. But strength, if I get a 6 in there, I win ties in combat and I can hold 5 cards. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and, just to be safe, I'm going to put that there. So we'll put a 6. Here. Now hopefully I can get a decent a 4 or a 5 for another roll and another 1. So we get another coin, which is nice. But that'll be a 3. And for now we'll put that in stealth because I'm really hoping to get a good skill here. A 4, so that's going to be a 5 with the bonus. So that's good. Can't stack our skills, which we'll talk about, but at least I can unlock them. So I can unlock 3 skill markers. So I take all my skill markers and I put them into the unlock. And then as you'll see, as I use them, I put them down into the particular skill. And just to go ahead and talk about that, so here, first of all, here's her actions. And we'll give her 3, or give him 3 health. I think I've been saying her, I guess it doesn't matter. So there's our little 3 health. We got our 2 gold. These are our 3 actions. So as you take an action, move it, and then the R there stands for rest when you're completely done. So she has the ability of blink, or he has the ability of blink. Roll to teleport to a random space on the board. Banishment, move any one monster 1 space. Confusion, +1 to your combat roll. Hero swap, switch spaces with another hero. And then animal handling. While hunting, send the hunted monster to another space, and then you can hunt again. And then we'll talk about hunting and gathering and moving. Those are your 3 main actions. So we've got the character board set up. Take a quick look at the gather board. Again, this is the one with the red dot, specific for the solo game. So up here you have, when you do your gather, your 4 different results. So again, advantage for this one, the 1 is going to go to your companion over here, which is explained fully right here on the board. If you roll a 2, you get 2 coins. A 3, it's wild, meaning you can pick any of the options. And then 4 is alchemy, and basically you can take an empty potion bottle and put it on whatever potion you want. Or you can move a bottle to another potion. So if you had it on one and you change your mind, you can move it. And again, you have your 6 potions. Feral monsters, which you can lure a monster into your space from another space. What is that? Strictify, +2 to your combat roll. Acupunch, change back to your hero form. So if you chib out, it allows you to avoid being attacked and that kind of thing, which hopefully I don't have to do. But when you do that, the only way you can get back into your hero form is to use the potion. Wingso Flighta Mouse, whatever. I can't. Anyways, that's a potion to return to the village, which is really important in the solo version and the co-op. Rock of Mages, reroll monsters to combat dice, and then Grape Jib Juice is 1 extra action. And then down here is where you put your hides, and we'll talk about the wild hides and specialty hides here in a second. And then your bounties, which you can have 3 bounties, and we'll also talk about that. So that's that setup. The hide collection board, which again, we're going to take, normally you would have your little dial here, which is on your board for the versus mode. But in the solo and co-op mode, it goes onto your collection board. And this is the way you keep track of turns. So if you notice, there's a red cube on 4. So we have 4 turns, and once we hit that 4th turn and it's over, if we don't get any bounties back to the village, then the game is over. By getting bounties, and I'll show that in a second, but real quickly, by getting bounties, it allows us to move and gives us more time and move this cube down the time track. So Every bounty we bring back, we get to move it. So we're going to have 8 bounties total, which would basically get us to the end if we got all 8. And so we have to kind of work on collecting our set of hides, and then also keeping the time going. And while we're here, well, first of all, here's our companion. So it shows you how to deploy it, the abilities. So this one again gives us a D4 if it's in our space. He moves whenever we do a movement action. He can move as well, or any action he can move 1 action. The only problem is if he's in your space when you take damage, then he gets put back on the board. So sometimes you may not want to move him in, depending on what's happening. You may not always want to move him with you, I guess. So far, when I played, I've always kept him with me, and I haven't lost him yet, but I'm sure that'll happen. And then you can always get him back if you roll a wild or a 1 on the gather board. So, and then these are all, so in this particular version of the game, we have to get all 15 of these monster hides to win the game. And we have a maximum of 12 turns. Hopefully we can, get it up there. But so when you defeat a monster, you have basically 3 different options. You can apply it towards a bounty. You can put it onto your hide collection board here, or you can put it into your hides, your wild hides and specialty hides over here, and that's it. You want to try to get them on here. We're trying to get all 15 monsters. There's 5 different types of monsters, and then there's poison monsters, bandit, undead. I can't remember the other 2. We'll get those in a second, but those are our monsters, and there's 3 different monsters in each. So again, 15 monsters we have to collect hides for. And then, so that board's set up. And then these here on the bottom, the heroic benefits, well, we'll finish this. Each turn at the end, instead of using these cards, the heroic cards, heroic quest cards, which are in the combat, and they give you different powers and things like that. We're not going to be using those in this version. And just to show you real quick, these are the really cool little card holders they made. You use the heroic benefit. So at the end of your turn, you're going to roll an 8-sided die. So you roll the die, I got a 1. I put it in there, and I've got hero buff, replace 1 lost hit point. So these particular abilities work, and then after the 3rd turn, you're going to have them all out here. You roll again. You can take one of them and move it to a different one depending on what you roll. So you're kind of getting these flexible abilities that move around and stuff like that as you go. And then these 2 red here are when you're doing co-op only, and they kind of help abilities that work over with helping other characters. One more thing on the dial I just wanted to show you, and again, it's also on the dial for the co-op or the versus mode, is the little red 20-sided die there, and that's the GM event. So every turn that our character goes, we're going to move it. And in the co-op mode, it's the same thing. If we had 2 players out here, Mesmerist goes, moves. Say we had a Slayer, the Slayer goes, it moves. In the versus mode, it's a round. So each character goes, and then after each character takes their turn, then the round turns, and then you would, on this particular one, you'd move your dial to 2. So it's every turn in this one. So once you cross from 2 to 3, you're going to have a GM event. And then, of course, you roll the percentile die and reference the book. And I really like that aspect of the game. I think it's really cool. They've got, you can make your own up and all that kind of stuff. So it's really neat. They did a really good job with that. Really gives it that RPG vibe to it. And some of them are really funny, and just some of them are a little disturbing, but really cool. Okay, so we've got, that's our hero collection board, our character board. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our environments out. Now what I do is I like to just, let's do this, randomly place them. So I'm going to use a 10-sided die here, which don't know where there it is. And see where we put them. So that's an 8. So the forest is going to go in the 8. And again, these are different environments, so different monsters will get buffs based on the environment they're in. So if you have a vampire or like a skeleton in the cemetery, then they get a extra +1 to their attack. A 1 for the dungeon. An 8 for the trails. So these are the trails. I guess I should show you here. I'll put them over here to show you these. So that's the trails. And you can have multiples as long as you can't have 2 of the same. So you can't have multiple dungeons in the same space, but you can have multiple types of other environments. So a 10, there's the dungeon. Pretty cool. And that's over here. The hills. We've got a 2. A 10. So we can't do that. See, that's 2 dungeons, so we have to re-roll that one. A 2. So we can. So we've got a couple multiple environments going there. Another 2. And again, we can do that. So there we've got a cemetery, the hills, and a dungeon all in the harbor, Sweetwater Harbor. And another 2, which we can't do. A 3. So we're really stacked in here. So there's another dungeon. So that's our environments on the board. Got our character made. And that's basically it. So we're going to do our bounties. So in this game, we have our bounties here, and we have only 8. In the regular games, I think co-op, and then your versus game, you have 3 on the board at any one time, and then as soon as one's complete, you replace it with a new one. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to shuffle it up here. Need to get sleeves. We're just going to do 8. And these particular card holders here, they do work with sleeves. So we're going to go ahead and lay out 8 bounties. So we got beasts, rogues, beasts. So that's the other 2 that I couldn't remember, beasts and rogues. Rogues, some bandits, some more beasts. Gosh, we got a lot of beasts. Bandits and beasts. Boy, I don't know if I shuffled those very good. So that's going to be tough because we've got to get a lot of this. We got 4 beasts to get. Interesting. So real quick, we'll take a look at one of these. So the card has like a little narrative for what it is. So it says, my name is Emma Sue, and I am 8 years old, and something really ugly tore at my parents and my house and everything in the town, but me, because I hid in the woods. Please help me. So you have your beasts. This is the type of monster we need. And you got your 3 different monsters there. And that's the little symbol representing their hide. And then the land. So this is representing where we have to go to get the beast. So we have to be in the land. So we have to be in Byroc's land, and there has to be a beast token in there. And if there is, then we can complete this bounty if we defeat it. And then that's your glory points, which this is not going to apply. And the other thing that's different, well, it's not different, but to be able to collect those hides, we have to be back in the village. So we have to go back to the village to be able to collect the hides, and then, or complete the bounty, collect the hides, and then we would move our counter here on the time chart. So there's basically, we have a potion that'll get us back there instantaneously, which is great. And I think there's a card. Let me think. Is there a card, or I thought there was some ability or something. Oh, right here. Empty your pack without returning to the village. So if you get the pack pigeon on your heroic benefits, then that allows you to basically do that without going back to the village. So you do have some ways to do it without having to travel across the board. You can also, again, these apply for all the different games, but we also can do, if you look at your sign, you've got, these are things you can do anywhere on the map. You've got dog mud, so you can re-roll your die for 2 coins. Holy water, D12 against undead. Rent a horse, so this is important. You get +1 to movement for a coin. And you can, as many coins as you can spend. So it's one, using a horse would be a good way to kind of trot across the map to get back to the village. And then you have the cash cube, place your cube in any space for 2 coins, which we're not using the cash cube in the solo mode. And then of course we have the little signs for the town telling you what you can do in the town, which all these still apply. So again, empty your pack, fountain of U, so you can roll to raise a stat. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of risky. If you roll it though, it's not risky, but you don't know if you're going to get a higher. If you roll it and you get a higher stat, you change it. If it's lower, equal or lower, it doesn't modify your stat. So there's no real penalty other than losing the coin. Training camp, so you can raise a stat just by spending 2 if you don't want to be risky and roll it. And then you've got, when you get back, you get to regain lost hit points, and then you can refresh 1 skill marker for a coin too. So as you use your skills over here, you know, they'll be down here like this. You can spend gold to put them back in the unlocked and then have them available again. And my understanding is with these heroic benefits, they're going to stay down here. And you can use them, you know, during your turn. And then as you start to get more into the game, you're going to obviously roll a number, and then you can move that to that other number. So you can kind of jump around that way, but they kind of always are there. It's not like the skills where you have to unlock them. It's just as you go, you're going to roll again, and then you'll have to move them from where they're at in the already placed if you want to. All right, the only other thing we forgot to do at the beginning of the game is in solo, you have to populate the board with monsters. So let's do that. Got 4 monsters we got to get out. So our first monster is going to be in 7, and it is a spider. So he's got poison. And again, these unfortunately aren't going to help for any bounties, but we do have to collect them for our hide collection board. Let's see what we get here. 6. And we have a skeleton up in North Point Wander. Our next one, got a 4. We have the Bone Banshee. So far, they're not in any environment, so they're not going to get any buffs. 1. Oh, there we go. We've got our first buff. So this is a perfect one too. The Minotaur, obviously his buff's going to be in a dungeon. So he has D10, but because of that, he gets, and he's in a dungeon, which is in 1, he gets a buff of 1. So it's going to be D10 plus 1. We'll put him there. So that's the 4 starting monsters on the board. And we've got the board set up. We've got our bounties out. Hero set up. The only thing is we've got to take our hero and put him into the village. And now he's ready to rock. So that's set up, and we'll go ahead and we'll get start playing our first turn. Okay, we need to, got the monsters populated, environment populated, hero on the board. So what we need to do is we need to get a advantage card. We get 1 advantage card. So we'll take a look at that. And we get a heavy metal ball. D20 and its range. Now what range does is, it doesn't mean you attack from like a separate space on the map or anything like that. It would be if I'm in his space and I attack him, even if I fail my attack, his damage doesn't hurt me. So basically I get a free attack if I fail. At least I don't get damaged from it. So it's kind of a nice little added bonus, but a D20 range is really nice. Probably it would be great for going against a dragon or something big like that, because even with the D20, there's a good chance you could fail, and then at least you're not getting struck back if you miss, which would be really nice. Okay, so we've got that. We've got our card, and now we need to, at the beginning of every turn, you're going to roll for 2 monsters, and you're going to roll for 2 gathers. This is just for the solo game. So again, we're going to roll a D10 for our monsters. So we're going to put 2 more out there. We've got a 5, which is Father's Den. And we've got a Hellhound. Show you that. And unfortunately, we need a rogues in the den, but I think, yeah, land. We need a beast in the land, so we could use a move action or something to try to move this hellhound over here, and then we can potentially get that. And then the next one is a 7. So we have another hellhound. So, and that's going to be in 7, which is the Wastelands. And if you check there, we've got a beast there too. So actually those are 2 good draws, because we can potentially get a couple of our bounties that way. All right, we did that. Now we got to do 2 gathers. Now a gather, you roll a d4, and then we're going to go to our gather board, and we're going to, depending on what we roll, we're going to do those. So 3, so we have a wild. So with the 3, we could get our companion, we can get 2 coins, we could draw an advantage card, or we could do alchemy. So we could put a potion out. I'm going to go ahead and get my companion. So we're going to have our bird, which gives us a d4 if he's in our space. And again, when we do any action, he can move 1 space. If he's in our space, when I take a wound, he goes back to the board. And let's see, and we roll it again. And we got a 3 again, so we got another wild. Oh, you know what? I should have 2 coins because of my stats there. I threw those back in for some reason. Let's see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the potion right now, return to the village. Because that potion up there will be short to get, won't be too far. But if we go up there and then we come back down here to try to get this one, then we can use that potion and pop right back. Because the only way, again, you get your bounties and collect them is to go back to the village. So we'll do that. And while we're here, I'm going to spend these 2 coins to draw another advantage, because they are worth 2 coins each. And we have the Shogun Blowgun. It's a d4, and it says plus 10 to combat if you roll a 1 or 2. Wow, that's pretty cool. All right. One other thing I wanted to show too is you can either, again, use the standee showing your actual character, or they have your little class 3D tokens, which are really cool. And they have one, for Slayer and all the different cleric and werewolf and all that. So they have a little cool 3D token you can use on the board if you like. I just kind of like seeing my actual character, but either one is appropriate, and they're really both really nice. All right, so here we go. So we have 3 actions, which got to set that to 3, and everything else is ready to go. And here we go. We're going to fight the Minotaur. Minotaur has a D10, and again, he is in a dungeon environment, so he's going to get +1. So we would have a D6 and a D4. That's pretty risky. I can add +1 with confusion. I don't have any coins or anything to spend to get him another buffer over. I really don't want to use my heavy metal ball. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and use the Shogun Blowgun. Again, that's risky too, because it's a D4. But if I get a 1 or 2, plus I still get my 1, I'm going to steal the 4-sided die from the Flesh Eater die here, and I'm going to use that for the bird. So that's going to be the bird die. So the blue die is the one I got to get the 1 or 2 on, hopefully. And I got a 2. Oops, I rolled it's a 9. I just rolled the percentile die there for it. So, and the bird gave me a 4, so that's going to be a 12. So that's going to be more than enough to, even with the bonus of a 10. We got a 10 plus force, so we've beat him. And get rid of my blowgun. So we're going to take him, we're just going to put him on our hide collection board because he's not part of any bounty or anything like that. So we're good to go there. And I should have moved that down one because we did move. So now we need to get down here because actually both of these, the Hellhound and the Bone Banshee, are both possible bounties, but they're in the wrong, they need to be switched. The Hellhound needs to go to the land, and then the Bone Banshee needs to go to the den, and then we can get 2 bounties right there. So, and I don't have any coins to buy mount to move extra, but I'd lose my bird anyway. So we're going to go ahead and just spend another action to move here. And I could go ahead. Is there anything in the harbor? No. Yeah, we do. I could go ahead. Granted, there's a lot of terrain in there, but I'm going to go ahead and do, and I think actually the bandits, the hills are a buff for them. But I'm going to go ahead and do a hunt. Because I can still, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do a hunt. So for my last action, we will do a hunt. So let's see what we get. Hopefully we get a bandit. Let's see here, and we get a kobold. Haha. Awesome. So we've got a kobold, which is a bandit. Kobold has the trails. So actually, we won't have to worry about him having a buff, but he's only 1 to 4 anyways, so won't worry about that. So we should be able to just attack him with our normal attack dice and beat him. He has +1, so let's see what we get here. He got a 5, but we got a 9. So we defeated him, and he is part of the bounty, so we'll take him. He's going to go back in the bag. We're going to take this card and we're going to put it on here. Now, when you get a bounty, you immediately have to spawn another monster. So we're going to roll our 10-sided die. A 5, which is down in the den. And we get, ooh, a Flesh Leech. So, Flesh Leech again is poison, D6 +2, and again, we just get coins for that. So, we will put him in the 5. So he's down here with our Hellhound. And that is going to be it. So it's the end of our turn. So we're going to advance this to 2. We're going to roll our 8-sided die to see where we end up on our heroic benefits. And we got a 2, which is going to be Hidden Passage, which is cool. It's win in a dungeon, you can move to another dungeon. So we're in a dungeon, so we could actually use that to get a free move to here, which would be great. Then we're not wasting an action to do that. So we did our benefits. We moved the chart. And I forgot to give myself 2 coins for defeating that monster.